A place for wild things. A place for wild things. Focus question. What is Alejandro's problem and how does he hope to solve it? After during the estancia with the gauchos all day, Alejandro spotted an SUV parked in front of the main house. His mother, Melissa, appeared at the door next to a tall, fair-skinned man Alejandro didn't know. Please consider the offer, Senora Ortega. I'll return in 2 weeks to discuss our future plans, the man said with a broad smile. Who was that? He asked his mother as the SUV sped away. Someone with an idea, his mother replied, turning back inside. Please go find Martine. We all need to have a talk. When the Martine returned to the house, his mother was sitting at the dining room table. I have received an offer to sell the estancia, Melissa began. Alejandro was surprised, but not only by the offer, but also that his mother was including him in the talk. Since his father's death 2 years ago, she had relied only on Martin. I've always hoped to maintain our land in the true gaucho tradition and keep it in the family. Sadly, as you both know, we're losing money because the land is overgrazed. I'm just not sure how much longer we can keep the place going. Alejandro felt sad as he thought of his father. He had always said the estancia, the land, people and animals, was a family. With a sigh, his mother explained more. Mr. Sumrest wants to build a resort. His idea is to create, in his words, a destination for travelers to experience the legendary gaucho way of life. Not travelers, tourists. Martin almost said the words. Ha! You thought I was just a tourist when Gerson brought me down from Santiago, Melissa said. Even so, I was amazed by your gauchos, with your traditional barrettes, bombacha, pantaloons, and leather boots. Mr. Sumrest just wants people to experience a bit of his culture, and I can't say I'm blaming him. Other estancias have already gone under from overgrazing, she continued. This is a hard work. She rubbed her forehead and sighed. Some rest, said Alejandro, and I could stay on for 5 years if we wanted, with me helping with the management. What would we do after that? Alejandro asked, trying not to raise his voice. That will happen to Martin and the other gauchos. Some of them have been here more than 30 years. I'm not sure, his mother said quietly. But Dad said. Alejandro stopped himself. He knew the situation was difficult for his mother too. Do we have a decide right now? Martin asked. 2 weeks, Melissa replied. Then we have 2 weeks to find an answer, Alejandro said, trying to sound confident. All right then, Martin said with a hard look on his face. Don't be late tomorrow morning, Alejandro. The next few days were filled with the hardest work Alejandro had ever done. He saddled horses, herded sheep, fixed fences, and hauled feed. He made friends with an old sheepdog named Lucinda that ran along next to him. In the evenings, he would sit with his mother, who would ask, What did you learn today? Alejandro excitedly told her everything, but when he was done, his body grew tired and sadness filled his heart. He didn't yet know how to save the estancia. On the 4th day, Alejandro and Martin came across a guanaco with his legs stuck in one of the fences. The wild animal was scared and worn out, weakly shaking its long neck and thin legs. When Martin cut the guanaco loose, it limped away as fast as it could. In the old days, we didn't have any fences on the estancia, Martin said as he repaired the hole. It was harder to protect the sheep, but at least there was always enough grass. Alejandro was silent. Something churned in his mind, but he couldn't figure out what it was exactly. That afternoon, Alejandro listened as a gaucho Gaucho told them about seeing a puma hunting one of the flocks. "I frightened it away with a few shots," he said. "It's just hungry," Martin said thoughtfully. "The changes to the land affect us all." When Alejandro's mother asked him about what he had learned that day, he told her about the puma and the guanaco. For some reason, though, he didn't feel the usual excitement. Something felt strange, as if his brain were trying to tie together two wires that weren't quite long enough. They did not have much time left to save the estancia. 5 days before Mr. Sumrest was due to return, Martin sent Alejandro out on his own. He told Alejandro to seek out a sheep that had run away. After a while, Alejandro saw the sheep moving through an opening in a rocky outcropping. "How did she get on the other side of the fence?" he asked to Lucinda. "She barked and panted happily, bouncing back and forth." When they reached the big rocks, Lucinda suddenly refused to go through the opening. "Fine," Alejandro said. "You wait here." The space was narrow, but he could easily squeeze through by turning to the side. He saw what had attracted the sheep, a small area of deep green grass dotted with wildflowers. The sheep was unhappy to lift her fist, but Alejandro managed to get her back through the tunnel. But before he followed, he stopped to pick one of the flowers, a yellow-topped porcelain orchid. He remembered his father bringing them to his mother after working on the estancia. The orchid had once been very common, but these were the first Alejandro had seen since his father died. He was about to leave when he noticed a sudden movement. A puma stood on a flat rock overlooking the patch of grass, staring at him with big yellow eyes. Alejandro returned the hunter's gaze, slowly backing towards the opening. Then, as if giving up, the cat lay down with a low sigh, its eyes lazily half closing. Alejandro almost felt sorry for the beast. After all, he had ruined its meal. With his heart still pounding, Alejandro placed the flower in his pouch and lifted the bleating sheep over the fence. He finally felt safe when he reached the other side. As he nudged his horse forward, he couldn't push the blooming pasture and the puma from his mind. They were wild, strong, and healthy. The estancia was no longer a place for wild things, but instead a land controlled. The fences were keeping the sheep from the rich pastures beyond. Alejandro imagined an estancia with no fences. Some of the sheep might die from puma attacks, but the flock as a whole would survive and grow stronger. He realized that he could tell his mother that he had truly learned something today. Alejandro urged his horse into a gallop. He had to talk to Martin and the other gauchos. It was time to return to the old ways. They could fix these. There was still time.